Hello friends, we are back with fresh episode of Literary Lens, and today we have invited your own well-known critic, poet, writer Rajesh Asudani, Raqeeb. I welcome you, Rajesh,
Thank you, Vinod ji.
on this show.
I'm glad to be back. We after such a long time, after such a time lapse, first
Yeah.
time in this new year, 2023.
Yes. So through Literary Lens performs its commitment to literature, and we try to communicate literary works to our audiences. So friends, you must be anxious. What is today's content? Yeah, many of you must have heard the name of this book, The Time Machine. Yeah,
Yes.
Time Machine. Who is the writer of this work?
H.G. Wells, the famous writer of science fiction.
Yeah, he is a British writer and he wrote this book way back in 1895.
Oh, so 127 years have elapsed, and still the time machine is working.
Yeah, many people, thousands of the people all over the world read this book out of curiosity. They try to understand what Mr. Wells has written in this book that keeps it going for such a long time.
Right from children to the senior citizens, everybody is fascinated.
It makes us believe that this book must be operating at various levels.
Yeah, sure.
So Rajeshji, first of all, tell me what is the secret of the popularity of this book with the children as well as with the philosophers and the scholars?
Yeah, like all great literature, it's a fascinating story operating at multiple levels. Children enjoy it for the sake of it, literal story. And middle-aged people find many interpretations, scientists find many interpretations, artists many interpretations. Everybody has something in it. And let me Vinodji, to begin with, correct the very popular misconception about this book. I would say it is not at all a science fiction.
Is it so?
Not at all.
Because many people say that this is a book which is related to science fiction, or it talks about the concept of the time travel. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it is. Definitely it is. It talks about the framework of the story is in the time travel. Time traveler invents a machine whereby he travels to the future, precisely 802701, year 802701, and then the story unfolds. So there are no details, no physical principles how the time travel is possible. No, but the concept of time travel is very ancient. It's not something which Mr. H.G. Wells invented. No, everybody fantasizes about it.
Yes,
right?
yes. So simply, if I'm permitted to say that the earlier poets, they had the dream sequence.
Yeah.
Everything comes about in a dream, right?
Yeah.
So similarly, time travel is used as a mechanism to unfold the real theme of this book.
I would say it is, but yeah, some things are there. Two things I would like to highlight here. Number one, Mr. H.G. Wells has depicted time as the fourth dimension of reality, apart from three special dimensions. Einstein in 1905, as we know, special theory of relativity.
Yes.
Then he posited the fourth dimension of reality. But 10 years before that, H.G. Wells said that the time is one of the prerequisites of existence. Because imagine a thing, he says in the narrator, he who hosts weekly dinners, he explains to the audience that imagine a thing which has three dimensions of the space, length, breadth and height. But if it has not even a second to exist, the time, will it exist? No.
So but this is very interesting, Rajesh.
Yeah.
What you say, that even before Einstein could come up with his argument that the time is the fourth dimension, H.G. Wells had already mentioned it in his book.
Definitely.
So this is really important.
Because H.G. Wells was in sync. He had studied science. So he was in sync with the scientific developments, not only the fourth dimension of time, but he had mentioned many things which came true later on, like space age, like airplanes, like nuclear war, nuclear power, even world brain, connected things which we call now internet.
So this is interesting.
Yeah.
So even the listeners must be very anxious to understand what this book is talking about, some of the important concepts, important
Yeah.
ideas
Yeah.
that you must have come across in this book.
Yeah, the second aspect of time travel, once he invents that machine and travels with a jerk to the future, then these logical implications of maybe a million years hence, like 8 lakh 2000 something years, is that right? So H.G. Wells imagines the social consequences. What may befall the human race as a result of the tendencies which are already manifest now, how they will evolve, and what we can expect. Counterintuitively, he posits a future where human race has split into two subspecies, we can call them. One are Eloi and the other are Morlocks.
Could you please illustrate something more about these two types of species?
Yeah, so he finds himself in the lawn where he finds tiny people like Lilliputians. They are carefree beings. They live, they enjoy half playfully, they make love, but they are diminished in not only in size but in every aspect, right from the brain, right from the social skills, right from the emotional. They are unconcerned with one another because they are getting everything. All the necessities of life are well provided for.
Now that means
Yeah.
the use of the technology will be all pervasive, and all the functions that human beings do right now
Yeah.
will be taken over by the robotics, by artificial intelligence, and by the various machines, and the people will be left with no work. So in that way, technology would liberate the people from work or the labor, and that state is conceived to be the happy state where the people will not be required to do anything else.
Yeah.
But here H.G. Wells draws our attention to another fact: when you have nothing to do,
Then you
perhaps
lose the identity itself.
your identity itself, because even the meaning arises out of the action, out of the work. When you are not required to do anything else, perhaps there will be no meaning.
And you'll forget the basic living skills also.
Yes.
Not only that, the social decay. You are not concerned when Veena is drowning one of the Eloi. Nobody is bothered.
That means many of the social connections, whether they are the relationships, or whether the business connections, or the professional connections, or the social connections, they are essential to survive. They are essential to impart meaning to life. And when people will not be dependent upon each other for anything, because machines will be there to take care of everything, then these social connections would not be there, and therefore people won't be concerned with one another. When Veena is drawing,
Yeah.
nobody is concerned because nobody feels any kind of
Anything.
affiliation
Yeah.
with her.
The time traveler saves her. And their interest in the time traveler is also momentary. They new curiosity, but in 5 minutes they forget him. They are not even afraid. Fear is also very less. All the emotions have declined. And simply they exist. We can't say that they live also. They exist. And that's like it. Even the art, Vinodji.
Yeah.
Even the art, for the time being, it flourishes. But then there is no useful purpose for the art. There is nothing. It also decays. And they are just like vegetation, we can say, that they are existing.
This is very interesting. In that sense, this book is a wonderful social and cultural commentary on the conditions of life, what the life is going to be in the distant future, where the technology will be all around, where the technology will take care of needs and comforts of the people. Then for what people would exist, even the meaning for to exist would be lost.
Would be lost.
And then satirically, perhaps I presume
Yeah.
that the stature of human beings is reduced.
It's reduced, yeah.
They are reduced in size, but it may not be a physical size, but the human stature itself has been reduced, and they are looking very dwarf people. Dwarf in concerns, dwarf in compassion, dwarf in care for one another.
And it's not only the technology, the Morlocks, then come the Morlocks. Gradually,
Another subspecies.
Another subspecies. At night, Eloi are slightly afraid, particularly in the moonless nights. The Morlocks come up on the ground. They are subterranean subspecies. They take care. They have not lost the skills, but they are blinded by the light. They are condemned to live beneath, underground, and they run the machinery of life for the Eloi, but in turn, they prey upon the Eloi also, because Eloi have grown weak, they are skillless. So as and when they want, they use them for the food.
Now, Rajeshji, these two type of species that you have described,
Yeah.
they are really interesting and entertaining to read about.
Yeah.
As children and the youngsters read this book for that sake of a joy or interest or fantasy. But how would you explain the metaphorical meaning of these two species?
Of course, as I said, Mr. Wells extrapolated from the already existing class reality. On the one hand, we have rich bourgeois people, and then the workers,
The proletariat.
proletariat. So then he imagines or he extrapolates that what will happen, these privileged rich people, they will lose all their skills. They will outsource everything either to technology or to the proletariat. And in time they will grow so weak that they will even lose the basic life skills, even arts. They will simply roam around, make love half playfully, and just exist. But this proletariat, condemned to live beneath the ground in the darkness is also metaphorical, right?
Exactly.
And then they will definitely do the work because they have not lost the skills. They can use the technology. Even the technology only can be used by the Morlocks in this novel, not by the Eloi, because they have forgot how to use the technology. So the proletariat, they will be condemned to operate the machinery of life, but they will prey upon the rich. They will exploit the rich, they will kill the rich, and in this way, this apparent class war which Marx dealt with, this will be so polarized that we will come to experience almost two different subspecies of
So
humankind.
in a way, this book is a new criticism of Marxian approach to life, where the class conflict is at the core, and this class conflict continues even in the altered, technologically altered
Really.
situations that we have to confront in the future.
And both the situations are undesirable, of the Eloi as well as of the Morlock. Both of them are undesirable, extreme situations.
Again, this book emerges as the criticism of the technology, right? The technology primarily is conceived and developed to impart happiness, to impart comfort
Yeah.
to the people, but the overuse of the technology perhaps would rob the human beings of the very pleasure, very happiness that it intends to create for them.
And Vinodji, at present, after 127 years of writing this book, we are witnessing the preliminary symptoms of what H.G. Wells imagined so back. I mean, I should not say it, but the younger generation particularly, they don't want to learn, they don't want to memorize the tables.
They do not want to interact with the people
They
in
don't
the
want-
real world.
Yeah.
They are happy to communicate with the people in the virtual
Virtual
world.
world.
So this is something, and H.G. Wells had not perhaps imagined that these kind of negative consequences that he is hinting at would be so soon
So
around
soon,
us.
we are in the process where Eloi and Morlocks are being created.
Not they are not the some distant reality.
We will not have to wait for 8 lakh years for that.
Exactly the speed with which artificial intelligence is picking up, that we are really afraid that the basic skills of the relationship, the basic compassion, basic concern for others is already on the decline, right? Already on the decline. We believe that we are self-sufficient. Everybody believes that he or she is so self-sufficient that he has nothing to do with other people around him. So that very concept of interdependence, which is the foundational stone
That is being
for the
eroded.
human race, is getting eroded.
And the workers, the exploited, the downtrodden, they are feeling that they have to do something, they have to survive, and they will in a way revolt or whatever. The creation of Morlocks is in the process.
Exactly. And if I look at this book from the another angle
Yeah.
of criticism of the capitalist system,
Yeah.
still that seems to be quite relevant.
Yes.
Because the capitalist discourse has pushed the proletariat so away that even their voice and murmur is not heard, at least at the times of the Marx, right? The proletariat were so
Yeah.
powerful, or they were so vocal, they could communicate their problems, and the rich or the bourgeoisie were sensitive enough to listen to them, at least to come to certain conclusions where the life of the workers became tolerable. But today they have been so marginalized that they neither have the sense of unity nor any voice left, which is taken care of by the bourgeoisie.
Not at all. Like, workers urinate in the bottles and can't form unions.
And there is no voice, no protest against this kind of exploitative practices, which are the essential consequences of this capitalist system.
And then comes the psychoanalytic part of it.
Yeah, if we this book lends itself to the Freudian interpretation as well.
I don't know why many critics even don't pay attention to all these aspects.
Perhaps, Rajesh, what I believe that the critics, they are not well read in these other subjects except the literary theories.
I mean, whatever I could read, I could lay my hands on. Every critic labeled it as the good science fiction. That's it.
But it goes beyond that. It's more than that. And the science fiction is one of the elements of this book. It's a Freudian criticism of life as well. Because these morons, as you say, they represent the repressed instinct, the id. It is always repressed in human beings.
And which will ultimately prey upon the ego, the superego.
Exactly. And many of the psychological disorders are assigned to this force of repressed id.
And without those essential instincts, the ego and superego particularly, they will be like Eloi. They will simply exist without any substance.
Exactly, because it is the basic conflict between superego and id, which forms the cornerstone of a Freudian approach to understand mind or understand personality. So when we look at these two species, they can symbolically, metaphorically represent the working of the superego and id.
And then comes Veena. We can't forget Veena here. She's Eloi, and she's like all other Elois. And when she's drowning, nobody is concerned. The time traveler saves her, but he hopes that she will also forget him, because like all other Eloi, she will not be very interested in him after 5 minutes, right? Nobody is concerned with one another, but no.
So how would you interpret the this idea of Veena?
Veena
What does she represent?
Symbolizes the last refuge, I would say, human love. She gets attached to the time traveler. She goes with him. Even she sleeps with him, abandoning her group. She comes, and then when she finds that he has so big pockets, she can't make sense of them, and then she stuffs them with flowers, which is the only thing he can bring back to the present era. And the flowers of Veena, tender flowers, dried flowers, when he brings them back, they suggest the human tenderness, human love. After we lose everything, after we lose technology, we lose the skills, we lose everything, the human tenderness, if it survives. Yeah. And finally Veena is killed, lost in the melee when Morlocks try to capture her. And but the flowers survive. They come back to the present. Author wanted, time traveler wanted Veena to bring back to the present, but she leaves the flowers. And flowers, Vinodji, interestingly, not only they are the symbol of love and tenderness as is conventionally understood, but the flowers, if you look at the history of ecology, flowers symbolize the interdependence of these species.
Yes.
Because before the flowers arrived, there was no diversity of these species. Plants could not reproduce very easily. But once the flowers emerged and they attracted the butterflies, and animals came and they spread the pollen. So flowers are ecological symbols of interdependence and
pollination.
Yeah, pollination, proliferation of the species. This is the very missed aspect of flowers, which many people don't realize.
Exactly, and the flowers ultimately symbolize happiness, freshness, color, fragrance. So these are the important elements of life. After all, why we exist, why we earn, why we acquire knowledge, not to simply burden ourselves with all these the theories of the knowledge, but the ultimate aim of life, as Adi Shankaracharya had said in Oriental philosophy, is to discover happiness.
Yes. So flowers are a very potent symbol which he brings back to the present era. And then afterlude, we can call it, he travels 30 million years advance. He doomsday scenario, he travels to when the earth is fixated towards one face towards the sun, always in the twilight, a solitary beach where the crab creeps towards him, and then he's afraid of this scenario and comes back to the present. Again, he's lost.
Again, Rajesh,
yeah.
interesting enough, I
Yeah.
remember one
Yeah.
of the living evolutionary biologist, and when he says that crabs are our cousins,
Yeah.
so that evolutionary theories are somewhat hinted at.
Yeah, they are hinted at, and the doomsday scenario of, this.
Richard Dawkins has said that.
Richard Dawkins has said, and then this dreadful scenario of doomsday. Then he comes back again. The narrator visits him the next day. He again, a time traveler has gone. Then for 3 years he has not come back. So maybe he's traveling in the near future or far future or the past or what. He says, he just speculates, and the book ends. But this is a very potent, social science fiction, I would call it.
So
which,
to conclude, this
yeah.
book has a value for youngsters
Yeah.
who can read it just for the entertainment, just as a science fiction.
Yeah.
But those who are mature readers, they can look at it as a social and cultural commentary. Yet other people can take it to be a philosophical book, because this book raises many of the philosophical questions that without work, whether there is any meaning left in
and
life.
interestingly, Vinodji, Eloy,
Yeah.
they have forgot fire also.
Oh, that's
Fire is the very basic first thing which humans,
an entire story of the development
Yeah.
starts with the discovery of fire.
Yeah, so they
right?
have forgot fire also.
So this again is a very, very important philosophical book.
Yeah.
That what is the meaning of life, how the meaning can be created in life, what is the role of love and human tenderness in life, what is the role of the technology. So at the philosophical plane, this book brings to the concerns of the readers the fundamental existential questions, the meaning, the responsibility, the freedom,
And
the will.
philosophically, Eloy, on the one hand, they have forgot fire, and the Morlocks are blinded by fire. When he lights the fire, time traveler lights the fire in the forest.
So when they are blinded, that means they are unaware of the fire, they cannot
They
perceive
cannot
fire.
even use the fire, and Eloy have already forgot it.
So this is again a very important philosophical question. The fire, which is at the at the foundation of the entire developmental stories, right? If we forget it or if we are blinded by it, in both of the situations, it is suicidal.
Yeah, definitely.
So this book really opens up many avenues of understanding. It lends itself to many
And the
interpretations.
imagery will haunt you. When once you read the book, with Veena, he comes back in the forest, he lights the fire, Veena is lost in the middle. You can't forget it.
So on the one hand, the book is full of literary qualities. The book is full of philosophical questions. The book is full with entertainment value as well.
Yes.
So this kind of qualities, this bunch of the qualities, if you can find in a single book, I think this is something simply great. And H.G. Wells deserves that admiration and that appreciation that this book is capable of.
And it is through his concept of world brain, that is internet, that we are reaching out to you.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Internet is what? It's a world
Yeah,
brain.
it's a world brain.
If you want anything, if you want to learn anything, simply you Google and you get it at your fingertips.
Similarly, you can Google for our channel as well.
Yeah,
And come to it.
through literary lens.
Yes.
So friends, if you like our discussions, please share the link of this channel with your friends, colleagues and others who want to learn about life, about literature, about society, about themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to this channel.